Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Isaiah here with the lovable giant Cam, and we are here to show you two decks, both of which are kind of victory strike decks that can potentially get the combo off on turn two. One of the other decks that we're going to show you, it can do the combo turn two, but that's not the only strategy in the deck, and it also has a sideboard option. So before we kind of hop into it, Cam, uh, what are your thoughts on this deck, and what are your thoughts on everybody's kind of opinions on it?
So we've been definitely getting a lot of flack for showcasing the fact that there is the possibility of doing a turn two kill with Victory Strike. I think people are kind of pushed away at that fact because obviously it's not fun losing the game on turn two. However, while this can happen on turn two, realistically, you see this more happen on turn three or four.
Yeah,
It's just the possibility that it can be done if you have the right cards and everything, as a lot of these OTK combo decks do.
correct.
I think this deck is very competitive in the metas coming forward with what we've seen in current cards being released.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely a lot of counterplay to these decks. The first one I can think of is that the 5-drop Frieza counterplay.
Right.
That's a very important card that can hit and hurt these decks. So the deck isn't top zero deck.
Yeah, no, it's definitely
It's
not tier zero.
This is just a deck that it has come back. Goku's lineage did come back with a vengeance with the introduction of the Unison. I think that's what's really kind of pushing everything over the edge right now. And we're going to see
Definitely.
that going into these two different builds, because both of these builds, while their goal is to churn out a victory strike, both of them actually have very different ways of doing so and
Mm-hmm.
offer a different strategy in doing so.
For sure. So before we kind of explain some of the choices and our thought process behind the decks, if you guys want to pick up any of this stuff, we have a TCG player link down in the description. So please, if you want to click it, help your boys out, help some of us that are retired. Hint, hint. Help us out, especially if you want to buy that victory strike from TCG player. That
Yeah,
would
spend
help,
that cool 4K.
man. Or you can pick up the signature Goku's off TCG player. That'd be even better.
Yeah,
But
just give us all that money.
yeah, it costs y'all nothing to click the link. But let's kind of hop into it. So, this first deck, we have the Shenron leader, the OG Shenron leader from the starter deck. If you guys have been playing the game for as long as we have, you know what this leader does. It pretty much just draws a whole bunch and has led to so many degenerate strategies. This build specifically is blue yellow. It was made by Craig, and he has tested this way more than I have. But he gave me some insight. So out of, I want to say, 10 or 15 games, um, I can say that he has victory striked on turn two 4 or 5 of those games. One of which was pretty much he just opened the stones, and the other ones he had to kind of combo effectively. Use a couple of your super combos to dig for some pieces, hit the trunks, use a combination of Senzu beans to untap energy, and he was able to get there. Um, some of the other turns, there was like a couple games where he obviously would brick. These decks do tend to brick every now and then. And then the rest of the games, he didn't even have to draw the victory strike. It was just a combination of using the Shenron Ultimate on your 5-drop or your 8-drop Goku and just killing your opponent from like 5, 6, or 7 life to 0. So pretty much kind of like the bread and the butter of this deck is the Unison. That's what me and Cam have been saying. This Unison is snapped in half, just being able to neg 3 markers like the turn it gets played to be able to free play a swap guy, not even a swap guy, Goku's lineage that's 5 or less. The two that we play, or the two that we play in this specific build, are the ultimate form and the abrupt. Just being able to play those for free, no cost restriction, no, well, outside of them being 5 or less, no leader cost restriction, color restriction. Like, it's just ridiculous. What are your thoughts on the Unison, Cam?
So you just pretty much explained it. The
Yeah,
Unison is the reason why this strategy can come back.
yeah,
Being able to play your adoptive father on turn 1,
Mm-hmm.
go into turn 2, basically tap 2 energy, play your Unison, and go into the 5-drop after swapping into like a go 10.
Yeah.
That's just a very strong. Granted, this deck here is more reliant on,
Yeah.
I believe its main thing is
Like.
just being able to Sensu Bean and
Mm-hmm.
extending your plays.
Yeah.
Um,
Like this specific build, like we said, it's blue yellow. So turn 1, you need to charge a yellow. That's why we obviously play like 90% of the deck is yellow. So you need to charge a yellow turn 1 for your adoptive father, your personal ambitions, to be able to filter, draw, and stuff like that. You need to see your Unison, which is realistically like the Unison is the only non-searchable card in the deck. Everything else is pretty much searchable. The Successor of Hope can search your 5-drops, and your adoptive father can't search Gotens. Obviously you can't search the Hopes either, or the Victory Strike, but you should be able to dig hard enough because your leader is a free +2 on turn 1. And once you charge the blue, uh, like like Cam said, like the original kind of strategy, especially for his version, is you tap 2 for the Son Goku and you can bounce the adoptive father. For this strategy, because we're charging blue on turn 2, you don't have to tap 2 energy. You can just tap your 1 yellow, swap back, and if you have the other Unison, you put it under. And then you can use your Senzu Beans to kind of go up, since you're not an untapped leader, to go up the full Victory Strike chain if you swapped into the Goten, or if you've done, or you can swing with the actual Unison itself and then do the Senzu Bean play. So those are just, different routes that you can take. I know, like Cam was saying, like green is a tough matchup because they have the counterplay Frieza. That's why we play 4 of the abrupts. If they do KO our ultimate form Son Goku, we do potentially have a backup for that, where we can just play the abrupt for free when they KO our 5 or less, or our 5 or higher Goku's lineage card. Well, like I said, like there's not really too much about this deck. It's definitely consistent in and of itself for something that you want to kind of kill on turn 2. It can and will kill on turn 3 if it doesn't kill on turn 2. So that's something you definitely got to watch out for. But yeah, that's pretty much like this deck and kind of like the whole gist behind it. Anything you want to say about this specific build, Cam?
This is definitely more of the turbo combo deck. This is definitely between the two that we have and we're showing tonight. This is definitely the one that is more dedicated to the turn 2 and 3 combo, like trying to get it off.
Yeah.
If you like the pure 100% game plan of this is how I want to play the deck, the Victory Strike and everything on turn 2 and 3. I know I'm kind of like repeating myself here.
Oh yeah.
This is the one for you. The one that we're showing later kind of can falter into a mid-range strategy if you feel that you want a backup plan. Yeah. So if you want to go full Yu-Gi-Oh and play that style of game, play this deck. If you want to have a backup plan and a plan B, you can play the other one.
Okay, yeah. And last thing too, I know people are probably thinking like, what does the Android 18 do? So essentially what she does is when you combo her, you can discard an extra card from your hand to gain, I think, an additional 6k combo power. So essentially while we play her, there are certain times where you may not awaken, or you can't awaken on your opponent's turn, and you have to like survive with Senzu Beans, and you might draw into extra cards that you can't use, such as the Successor of Hopes, the Personal Ambitions, or if you're not awakened and you use a super combo to draw into your Dragon Ball, you can use the Android 18 to discard that like maybe potential last Dragon Ball and be able to wish on your opponent's turn to flip up for the extra 5k boost if that matters. But yeah, let's kind of go into your version of the deck, which is Cell Surge. And this thing is spicy.
I decided to go Cell Surge on this one.
Yeah.
This leader definitely got a little bit of a bump in recent weeks. Especially there was like kind of a spoiler per se of I forget who did it, but he mentioned that the leader definitely had potential. I took a huge look into this leader when a lot of these cards were spoiled. And the biggest reason for this and choosing this leader are 2 things. One, the front side offers a lot of potential digging for your pieces. And 2, having the green leader for the Hope of U7 effect on turn 2 is very tough to beat.
Yeah, definitely.
Being able to start ripping your opponent's hand apart that early with a crit and continuously neg their hand advantage is powerful. That itself can cause players to just scoop up if their deck isn't prepared to beat that game 1.
Yeah, for sure.
So the Cell's leader effect mentions for their active main once per turn, you can look up to the top 5 cards of your deck. You pick one, shuffle your deck, then discard one. Now, that kind of sounds like a little bit of a neg. That's why we play 4 of the Cell the Dark Parasite. That is because once you put it to your drop, you can take it from your drop, put it into your warp, draw 1, and take 1 from your life. So now instead of breaking even, what you've done is you've actually seen 3 new cards.
Yeah.
Which can potentially be more of your combo pieces.
Yeah, like this deck pretty much like it definitely allows you to not have to try to hard mulligan for so many different pieces. Like the main card, outside of keeping Victory Strike in your hand, the main card for sure in this specific deck that you want to keep is definitely the Cell the Dark Parasite, like 100%.
Yeah, you at least want to have 1 in your opener, or see 1 on, say, the first. Because I've done plays where I haven't had it in my opening hand, and I've picked it off the Cell effect just to start digging a little more.
Yeah.
That's obviously if the cards that I see off the Cell effect aren't worth picking up. And as Isaiah's deck, the Unison is the big reason why we can go for the turn 2 kills.
Yeah.
Most of the time that I've killed with Victory Strike, I've done it turn 3.
Yeah.
So generally the turn 1 play is Charge Yellow, Adoptive Father. Turn 2 is one of 2 ways.
Mm-hmm.
Play the Unison, add the extra Unison underneath, swap out into a Intrepid or a Goten, go to 3, minus it, play your 5-drop, Awaken, Surge Awaken, untap 2, draw 2. Now you have 2. You have your open energy, and you just start going into it.
Yeah.
U7, and this is when it gets fun. U7, swing, crit, take something out of their hand.
Oh, obviously, yeah, because your leader's a green leader.
Yep, the leader is a green leader.
Oh, man, that's nice.
And again, do the same thing. Restand, Victory Strike, less cards in hand, meaning that there's a less of a chance that they'll be able to combo out of the Victory Strike. And most of the time on turn 2, if you're able to play it correctly, against certain decks, they won't be awakening.
Mm-hmm.
Most decks in the format can awaken by turn 2, turn 3.
So if you go first, you'll definitely be able to...
Yeah, if you're going first, you definitely can avoid them awakening.
Yeah.
But this deck also offers a little bit of a mid-range strategy in game 1. If you feel that you're facing a deck where the Victory Strike playing on turn 2 and 3 is kind of null, you can play more of a grind with the Height of Mastery.
Yeah.
Because Height of Mastery in its own is a very powerful card. Again, Goku's lineage needed maybe 1 or 2 cards to make the...
and they definitely gave the 1 or 2 cards.
Yeah. People are saying that the new leader is going to help out a lot. The Unison is the star.
Yeah, like the leader was, if you want to play like Goku's lineage in its like purest form, that's 100% the leader that you have to play. Like the Unison basically said, no, I am the captain now.
Yeah, and the thing about with this version that I play is that Successor not only gains us our swap options, but Successor can also continue with getting our combo pieces, because Successor can't grab Gotens, but it can grab Intrepids, which can knock up your Unison when you swap into it.
Yeah.
Successor also grabs your Adoptive Fathers if you're not seeing it.
And the Intrepids also, like, what's good about them too is like they have barrier So if you're going against something like green and they don't, and they're trying to KO your Go-Tens or KO something that you bring in, you can kind of use the Intrepids to swing at their unison, combo a 5K if you need to knock
Yeah.
the markers down so they can't do any of their counters.
So after testing, I've had a fair share of testing with this version. I've tweaked it plenty of times. I added a sideboard because I've been playing a little bit of best of three to kind of understand where I want to be with it.
Hmm.
Roughly, I've played about 30 games with it, and the amount of times I've turned to Victory Strike is probably less than 25% of the time.
Right.
So it's possible. It's just not, the main goal.
Yeah,
Turn three
yeah,
is where I see most of the OTKs.
right.
Turn three is roughly like 50 to 60%.
Yeah, and if we like,
Um,
oh, go
However,
ahead.
the other, the little variable right there is that if I don't see a Victory Strike kill on turn three, I'm not really worried because I can play with the Height of Mastery
Hmm.
swap chain.
Yeah,
It's still very powerful. I also play 3 Nimbus because I do want backup.
yeah,
If we go to the sideboard, and I kind of want, because the main board is kind of self-explanatory, I'm going to tech the sideboard a little bit. Um, I'll start with the Release from Evils and the Vegetas. That's because we are playing a yellow unison.
hmm,
You know, it's it is a viable strategy to play Release from Evil because we do have to play against Reboot Gohan. That's a very powerful deck, and that does stop that leader because Reboot does still have its place in the limelight right now.
yep,
Vegeta, very powerful counterplay card,
yeah,
especially with the Unison. As you may notice, I play a 2-2 split of the Path to Greatness. That is because if you feel that you're going against a matchup where they are going to always try to stop that turn 2, turn 3 play, you side out, say 2 Hope of U7, side in 2 Path to Greatness, play the grindy Height of Mastery matchup game.
yeah.
Start really getting into it.
And one thing too, if you
Swift
can,
retaliation too is important because we had this discussion, you and I.
yeah,
Because yellow is a very, very difficult matchup.
yeah.
Swift retaliation helps that a lot.
Like one of the things too about this deck is like if you can hold your awaken off until turn 4, because you can awaken whenever you want. If you have obviously the green to go along with any of your multiple yellows in your deck, you can swap into the Height of Mastery. It has deflect. It's an 8-drop, so Frieza's not gonna kill it, or there's no counterplays that are really gonna kill it. You can tap them out, untap 2, and in a lot of cases you're gonna kill them because you can untap 2 and you can still EX evolve the green Goku into your Height of Mastery after you swung with it. Then you can EX evolve, swing 2 more times, EX evolve, swing 2 more times.
Something I do want to mention too in the sideboard is I do play 2 Universe 7 representative.
Hmm.
This is because it helps us just dig for our pieces,
Yeah,
as well as also helps dig for, part of the Height of Mastery chain if we
yeah,
need it.
and it's
It also
also
counts.
go
It
go
counts in
for
the
it.
U7.
Yeah, and it's really good against Invoker also. Just because like your leader digs, your unison is also going to dig for some pieces. If you swap into the Go-Tens, you're going to dig into pieces. So the Universe 7 representative, if you go first against like something like Invoker, and you're not attacking them, they're attacking you, etc. You can use this to potentially just dig for your victory strike and win that slow matchup. Or you can dig for your Height of Mastery, and if you're going first, you can tap, your 4 for your Height of Mastery, and then just go for the kill. Because if like if you're doing the Height of Mastery play against them, they have to drop Vegeta into what I think Death Beam or Death Ball or whatever that red blue extra card is that can kill through barrier. They have to tap out and do it that turn. And then the next turn you can just do your victory strike or do your Height of Mastery play or something else.
So some notable inclusions I do want to mention for this deck is Pan Great Ape Whisper. That card was kind of floating in between the main
Oh
board
yeah,
and in between the sideboard. I ended up taking it out of the deck because while it is a fantastic card, I just didn't see myself
getting to
utilizing it
2.
as much.
Yeah.
Another card I do want to mention as a notable include for like as a one of was I think it's the SS4 Mighty Reborn, the one from the starter deck.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, so I can play it off the pan,
Right.
just
Exactly.
kind of as more aggression.
Yeah.
I found myself playing the one of, and then I'm like, if you play the one of, It's cute to have. It might go to the sideboard.
But it's also one
Um,
of those cards too where it's like it doesn't go into any of your like chains. I think it might have swap 8 for 8, but it's not a U7. You can't like you're almost realistically not gonna be at 2 life unless you're playing against aggro. So like his activate main to take a life and then restand himself and gain triple if you're at 2 or less isn't it's not as viable as it would be in like other leaders.
yeah. So this deck, as we mentioned, is more of it has a backup plan if you really feel that the combo kill isn't really plausible.
Right.
The Shenron deck that you mentioned, I feel, is more of like the Yu-Gi-Oh deck, the Turbo
Yeah.
combo deck.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like to put these two together where, the Shenron deck is the Yu-Gi-Oh deck, the
Mm-hmm.
Cell deck is more of like a Magic deck,
Yeah.
where you do have your combo, but you do have a backup plan if you need to.
Right.
And it just depends on your playstyle. Some people like to have the dedicated combo.
Mm-hmm.
That's more or less like Craig and yourself, and some people like
Right.
to have the backup plan, which was me.
Yeah.
And as I said, I played about 50 games with this before kind of solidifying this. I'm still going to be doing a lot of testing
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of like testing on Untapped. But I definitely think this is a very big contender come set 13 when that Unison does release.
Definitely. And one thing too, before we kind of end off, to like you said, or like we said earlier, a lot of people, they're saying not to worry about the deck. It's inconsistent. These strategies like this, they have counters and stuff like that. We understand that, and we're not gonna say that you're wrong because you're not wrong. That
Well,
these
that's more
are
fun.
yeah, exactly. Like the thing about it is when you're looking at it from a stance of like bringing in new players, bringing in casual people that like to play, people potentially bringing stuff like this to their locals, you don't want there to be Bondi should not allow or want there to be strategies in a game that can kill your opponent from 8 life on turn 2. No matter how inconsistent it is, no matter how many counters there is, there's always going to be new players that see that and they're like, I don't even want to run the risk of that happening to me. And to be a little bit pessimistic, which I don't really like to be in a sense because Bondi's doing all they can during the times. Most all of the events coming up are webcam events. So if you have strategies like these, then it unfortunately is not their fault, but it makes people want to cheat to do these types of things. And you also don't want that type of stuff to happen. Like, yes, people will cheat. You can't stop people from cheating, but you can't tell if that victory strike through a camera lens is triple sleeved, quadruple sleeved, is actually even a victory strike at all. It could be a card that's thicker than most of the cards in their deck, so it could be a proxy. So there's a lot of different types of stuff. So it's just one of those types of strategies where, like, as a turn 4, turn 5 deck, turn 6, it's perfectly fine. You should be able to put something in your deck to stop it on turn 4, 5, or 6. But turn 2, it just shouldn't exist in the game. So my only thing is, errata the unison. Do yourself the justice now. Don't wait. Just do it. Get it out the way so people don't have to worry. People don't have to see or hear people talk about those types of things, and you can just get all of the backlash out the way now.
Because I think it took what the second the promo leader and the promo unison were introduced, the
Yeah.
second our team chat blew up,
Yeah.
and within minutes we were like, we have builds, we're done, we're on Untap.
Yeah. Exactly. Like that.
Like you, myself,
Like
Craig,
hell, Neil, all
we
like
all had ideas the second it came out.
right.
And we know that there's already been a deck video posted on the combo itself with the new leader.
Right.
This is highlighting other leaders. And again, these are the styles of deck I enjoy.
Yeah.
And unfortunately that makes me a degenerate. I could care less. But these are the style of decks I enjoy.
Yeah. But on that note, um, you know, we appreciate you guys for listening throughout this video. If you've made it this far, leave a like if you love the video. Leave a like if you love me and Cam's beautiful faces.
You're gonna say that for you, not me.
If you like Cam's beautiful muscles, So, and even if you dislike the video, leave a comment and let us know why you dislike it so we can make the video better in the future. So this way you'll like it in the future.
Also, any questions about the decks, please put them in the comments.
For
I
sure.
will be looking at the comments to answer any questions about the Cell deck.
Yeah.
I guarantee Isaiah will do the same about the Shenron deck.
Mm-hmm.
And we will try to at least give as much feedback as we can. Please
Yeah.
understand that both of these decks are still under tweaking and under construction. These are just the versions we felt comfortable releasing, knowing that these are as optimized as they can be at this moment.
Yeah. Like we still don't know future, every single card in future sets. But right now, like we said, like you have like roughly to give a rough estimate, based off of how the leader cycle life and all of that mess. Let's just roughly say 10 to 20% chance on like getting it off on turn 2, maybe even lower than that if you're a big math whiz. But like I said, still shouldn't be a thing. But we're done. That's it. I hope you guys, like I said, enjoyed the video. And peace out, guys.
Peace.
All right, that's cool.